Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. We are here recording episode 135, and today we will be discussing and hopefully answering the question of what is culture? You know, we've recorded 134 episodes before this, and we talk about culture all the time, but we haven't begged to ask the question, what is culture? So today it should be a fun episode trying to explore what is culture, and I'm curious to also see what Jared's associations with some different cultures are as well. So it should be a fun episode, and hopefully all of us will come out a little bit smarter after today's episode and understand and have a better understanding of culture. So we're looking forward to bringing this episode to you. And my partner in crime, my buddy Jared, what's going on, Jared?
Hello. Who better to speak about culture than cultural icons like you and I, setting the podcast world ablaze? I read that in the newspaper this morning. But please,
spread a little love.
See how our culture is used to set the zeitgeist, if I said that right. Follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Give us untranslatables. You'll hear what they are later if you don't know, but they're idioms, sayings, proverbs that don't really make any sense in English, but they do have a meaning, and we tell you what they are, and we guess. Sometimes we get it right on. Most times we don't. And we're on YouTube.
That's true.
You can give us 5-star reviews.
Пожалуйста.
iTunes and Stitcher. And I'm happy to be here. I had a little weekend road trip. I went to Holland, Michigan. Dude, listen, I'm from the Metro Detroit. It's a great place. The West Coast is so much better.
What makes it better?
Well, I feel like it just encapsulates the vibe of a beat. Like you just feel like, I don't know. It's beautiful out there. I love all the lakes. It feels like a beach town, like Holland, where I was, is a beach town, but it has more going on than like a lot of your average beach towns. I feel like, I don't know. I like it. I went to a wedding. Sorry, were you about to say something?
I was going to say that I think the whole thing with the western beach towns in Michigan is a lot of people go out there over the weekends. So on the weekends, I think there is a lot of stuff going on because there are a lot of people going there. But tell me more about this wedding. I'm curious.
Oh, yeah. Brad, the silent third co-host of this podcast, his cousin got married. And it was in Michigan. And Brad was flying in. And he was like, hey, do you want to go to a wedding? And I was like, sure. Why not? Going to a wedding where you don't know anyone. Have you ever done that before? Where you're like the +1 or something like that?
Not really, no. Not yet. I haven't been to many weddings lately,
Yeah, I don't get
unfortunately.
invited to many weddings either. I think...
Probably this podcast.
Why not? We're icons, people. We can really take your wedding to the next level just with our presence. It's an interesting time because you gotta sort of force yourself to what's to communicate
Socialize?
with people? Socialize. Thank you. I don't even know the word for it. So that's always kind of exhausting, but it's also nice because you get like free food and free drink, and it's like, yeah, I'll do that.
How was the food?
The food is pretty good. I got chicken, broccoli, and the potatoes were just okay. The chicken was good. The broccoli could have used some sort of seasoning of any sort. Would be great. It was just a little bland, but it was good. I mean, it was fine. Also, I don't know. It was just also interesting getting like a glimpse into like random families' drama. You know, it was almost felt like I was live at a reality show or something like that. It wasn't crazy or anything like that, but there was definitely some drama going on. There seemed to be the mother did not seem to have the greatest relationship with the bride.
Ooh, okay, that's a little rough.
The bride's mother, not like the mother-in-law.
I see.
The daughter and mother didn't really get along well. Apparently,
that's a bummer.
But
you can't leave that on the shelf for after the wedding. You know,
listen, I don't know this family. For all we know, someone actually is a big asshole. But they gave speeches. The best man gave a speech. His speech was, I don't know.
Ooh.
It seemed to, and listen, I'm one to talk. We do a podcast for an hour and a half twice a week, but it definitely rambled. I wanted to ask Brad, but I didn't have a good chance to ask it. I was like, are these toasts just supposed to be about how they became friends? It was all just about like how they met, and they met in elementary school. And then I was like, no one needs to hear your whole backstory. And but anyway, it was a good time. I like to get out of, it's nice to do those weekend trips too.
You know, Jared, that's interesting. Now you've got me to think about wedding speeches because, yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, to me, if I were to give a speech, I would have a very quick and brief how I know the person, not a long one.
Well, he clearly didn't plan. He finished it by saying, "So yeah."
Oh, okay. Ooh, yeah.
I probably would have like practiced.
Right. I probably would have written something or had some bullet points or something, but I feel like the other thing too is you want to, at least for me, if I were to be giving somebody a speech, I would want to, obviously you're there to wish the couple well and wish them a happy future and hopefully many wonderful years together. But who knows? But yeah, weekend trips are great though, Jared.
Yeah,
let me tell you
now. Oh,
right.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, no, you're at a great time. I will tell you, my weekend was incredibly uneventful. I didn't really do anything, but I did try out a burger joint near my apartment because I was hankering for some Western food.
Okay, hold on. So I'm going to assume that this burger, well, it was an American style burger, but there was some. It was not what we would expect. What I would expect from an American style burger in some ways, I would imagine.
I'm gonna give you a yes and no, because
there was corn on it though.
There was no corn on it. The burger was called, and this was the other tricky thing, is that so they had the name of the burger in English, but I'm pretty sure all the toppings and ingredients were in Chinese. But thankfully, the names of the burgers, you could more or less deduce what they would be. So the burger I ordered was kind of an interesting combo. It was really tasty, but it was called a mozzarella and jalapeno burger. So there was obviously mozzarella cheese on there and jalapenos on there. There was also lettuce, tomato, I believe onion, and then some type of sauce. I have no idea what the sauce was. The sauce was really good. I will say this, though. The burger patty was definitely a smaller size patty, probably something that you would get if you ordered like a smaller Wendy's burger or a smaller McDonald's burger.
Smaller in thickness?
In thickness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So other than that, though, I mean, it was, I would say, what you would expect of an American burger. Just the patty itself was a little thinner.
Were there a lot of people in there?
Actually, so I was a little worried. So I've gone against my rule twice now since I've been in China. My rule is, for our listeners out there who are unaware, they tell you in China, if you are going somewhere where you've never been, make sure you go somewhere where it's busy. Because if it's busy, the quality of food is good. I don't really care that much about the service because it's not like I can really interact with the wait staff that much anyways right now because my Chinese is terrible. But they say you want to pick a restaurant where there's a lot of people so there's good quality food. Well, I went in there. I walked by it a few nights ago and there were 4 or 5 people in there, like at different tables, and there's not a ton of tables, so that took up most of the restaurant. But I went in the other day and there was nobody in there, and I thought, you know what, all right, there's nobody here, but I've seen people in here before. I'm gonna go on a limb and give it a try. And it was on Saturday night. I didn't have any plans for Sunday, so I figured if I spent my entire Sunday on the toilet, it is what it is. But thankfully that did not happen. The food was delicious. The wait staff was really nice. It's really funny. You see how willing people are to help you when you don't speak much of the language. And they were very helpful. And I got a really good German Weissbier there with my burger as well, which was pretty tasty. So now I have a new little burger joint near my apartment. It's a 5-minute walk. And
They're pretty like they're drinkers over there, aren't they?
They do, but I think in China, at least the couple of times I've seen people out drinking, they're going hard. So I don't think they're drinking to enjoy the flavor.
There's not a lot of social drinking.
No,
Or like
it is
casual.
social.
I mean, excuse me, casual drinking. That's what I meant to say.
To me, it doesn't seem super casual. And we have been warned by. I've been warned by my colleagues saying, if you go out with your Chinese colleagues, you have a choice to make. Your choice is either you don't drink, or you drink and you get absolutely shit-faced because they want you to drink every drink with them. So it's kind of culturally inappropriate. Like if you're just like having one or two, you gotta either you gotta explain that, or you just be like, sorry, I'm not drinking tonight. So
you just have to commit to going full ham.
Yep, going complete ham bone. Yeah.
That's an interesting technique.
It is.
It's very college.
Right, and I had a Chinese guy. I was at a restaurant like my first weekend here, and he offered to buy me a beer, and I had my colleagues in the back of my head like, if you get a beer with him, he's going to want to drink more beer. I'm not really sure because I didn't have a beer with him.
He asked for a beer. The next thing you know, you have 18 beers.
Right. I don't know. I haven't done it yet. We'll see. I need to. One of these nights, I need to just try it and see what happens because. We'll see, because I wonder. I feel like if you told them like I'm feeling pretty good,
what are they gonna do?
I don't need any more drinks. I'm not really sure though. But yeah, my weekend was fairly uneventful. I'm glad you had a good weekend. Holland is a beautiful place to visit.
Yeah,
weddings can definitely be fun, but they can definitely drain your social batteries a little bit.
But kind of in line with like the culture thing that we're going to be talking about. It is fun to see, and not just the drama stuff I talked about before, but it is fun to see how other families like interact,
Oh, absolutely.
as an outsider.
Right.
And,
well, that's
I was going to say silently judge, that's all.
Oh, there you go.
It's probably better than you coming off.
But that's the interesting thing about culture, and we'll talk about this more in the main segment, but the fact that culture has like kind of different stages. You have your national culture. You even have your like regional culture. When I say regional, I mean like Western culture versus Eastern culture, even though there are obviously differences within those. But then you also have like family cultures. One family. Yeah. And so we'll have to discuss that more a bit later.
When I was driving home from Holland, Michigan today, I saw a pickup truck and it had like an outline of Michigan, and it said Michiganders get shit done.
Wonder what their family culture is like. Hey, at least they're proud to be a Michigander. I can't knock them for that. That's for sure.
I was like, we do? That's cool.
Right. I mean, I definitely love to talk about Michigan to anybody here in China and when I was in Mongolia who will listen.
Me and my girlfriend have had that conversation that Michiganders do seem to be a very prideful bunch. Like we have a state pride more than at least where I came from before in Philadelphia. Right. Like it was more of a city thing than like Pennsylvania.
Right. That's fair. I would be willing to bet you though, like in Detroit, I bet you it's more of a Detroit thing and not a Michigan thing. I'd be willing.
I can imagine that. Those Detroit versus everybody related stores.
Right.
Yeah.
I should have got one of those shirts before I came here. It was funny, buddy.
You would fit right in too with some shirt like that. No one, people wouldn't even look at you twice.
Right. Oh,
because they all have like words and stuff on their shirts.
Oh my God!
They?
Speaking of funny stuff on shirts, yes. I need to start writing these down. But yesterday, when I was walking around, I saw this Chinese guy who had like a jacket on, and a lot of these jackets will have patches on them, and the patches will have stuff in English. And this guy's shirt, I kid you not, said, I should have taken a picture of it. It said, welcome to Uranus, like the planet. It said, welcome to Uranus. It said like planet of champions or something like that. And I really wanted to like stop him and be like, dude, do you understand? Like we use Uranus as like a joke, a stupid like joke because it sounds like your anus. And I'm sure
so maybe he. I wonder. I feel like you think that. I feel like you think they put more thought into what's written on the shirts.
Oh, they
than
don't.
They do.
I think they probably just find random. I don't even know how they find it though, dude.
I mean, he might not even know what it means. Like, there's a chance
he clearly doesn't.
That's
probably not. Probably not. But that's my point. Is I want to educate people what their damn clothing means because it's a lot of times it's hilarious.
You could do that and like bring Chinese people to the U.S. and have them look at people's tattoos. This means serenity.
Right?
No,
That
it
means
doesn't.
chicken noodle soup. That means steamed dumplings. Yeah, yeah. I've thought about, you know, I don't know if we've talked about tattoos on the show, but I'd love to get one eventually. And I've thought about a Chinese character as a joke. One of my colleagues, Kelly, she lives in like the next town over. She's awesome. She told me as a joke I should get bearded rebel tattooed in Chinese characters on me because nobody in the States would know what that means.
I'd dig it if it was something like a joke like that. But I don't know. I always sort of roll my eyes at people with Chinese character tattoos.
Right. And now she has Chinese character tattoos, but she speaks and can read it.
Right. Okay, well, that's different. You can verify on your own what it is.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I always think it's funny, too, when people get Chinese characters when, like, they're not interested in the culture, they've never been to China, and they never will go to China.
It's just like it looks cool, essentially.
Right. And I mean, it does look cool, you know, and I guess at face value, that's why some people get tattoos. You know, yeah, it looks cool, but I think, me personally, like, if you're going to do something like that from another culture, you need to have some basic understanding of it.
Are there a lot of tattoos in China?
There are becoming more, but what I've noticed is it's at least the ones that seem to be visible tend to be more by men. So like stuff on their arms, their forearms. I've seen some dudes here with some badass sleeves, but the sleeves I see here, they look almost like a Yakuza tattoo. Like for our listeners out there that are unaware of what Yakuza is, it's like the Japanese mafia.
Right.
And I wonder, I have a feeling that in China, they probably don't understand the cultural implications of it. Because I'm not sure how much the Chinese know about the Yakuza and like illegal stuff like that.
I mean, but they have their own like mafia as well in China called like the Triads, isn't it?
They do. But I'm not sure if it's still as big of a thing as it used to be. But I know, like in the Yakuza, they have specific style tattoos. Like if you just Google it, they're really beautiful looking. And like Japanese tattoos tend to like have a common theme. So it'll be like one big tattoo, but there's like a common theme. Whereas if you look at a lot of Americans who have tattoos or Westerners who have tattoos, they might have a bunch of different random stuff. But so I've seen some really cool sleeves.
Are cool.
Aren't they awesome?
Oh, these are cool.
They're sweet, aren't they?
But I couldn't get one, could I? Because then that's probably not a good idea.
Well, I mean, if you go to a sauna in Japan, you might get. Who knows? I don't know.
I get jumped in.
Right. I have seen some girls in China with tattoos, like small little ones. Like I saw one. This girl had this really cute, like minimalist style tattoo of like a kitty, like a face of a cute little cat on her calf. But I haven't seen a ton of girls here with tattoos, or maybe if they do, they don't have them in right. They have them in spots where you can't really see them. But I think younger people in China are a bit more flexible about piercings and tattoos and even like dyeing their hair and stuff like that. But from the Chinese people I have talked to, it seems like there's still this big dichotomy. You have more traditional, like people who still really try to uphold traditional Chinese values, and then others who are starting to realize like sometimes tradition is great, but other times, it can be very restricting and limiting. And so I think some people are starting to realize that.
I mean, that's a challenge everywhere in the world. It's just, people go at different paces through that journey. But hey, let's
spread a little love.
Let's do it.
Let's I have no shout outs. I don't know. Happy birthday to my sister.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Nice. Well, I have to give one shout out to a friend of ours, our buddy Shane, because Jared and I
we got hacked.
At least we did. Our Facebook, our Untranslatable Facebook got hacked. And when I noticed, I should have wrote you in Mongolia because I went to go post something to the page when I was in Mongolia, and I didn't see it on my mobile app. But I figured because
we got quote unquote hacked, but nothing happened.
I mean, nothing happened. Well, basically, so what happened was somehow we were
got
both
kicked
removed
out of our own group.
Yeah, we got removed from our page as admins. And I went, and of course, dude, the like random times that I am able to access Facebook here, and I see all sorts of stuff I'd love to share on our page. I have no access to our page. That's always
Right.
how life works, right? So the whole reason for this, though, is a shout out to our good buddy Shane. We really appreciate he went above and beyond and was able to
I didn't even know you could do that.
get the issue resolved. Yeah, I
I
didn't
know
either.
there are people at Facebook that we could talk to.
It's really difficult to get there, I guess, because I looked and looked and looked, and
They don't
all
want
I
to
found-
encourage it.
Right, exactly. And Shane has done a lot of stuff with like Facebook ads and business, and he's really savvy with Facebook and other social media platforms as well. So shout out to you, Shane. We really appreciate it. Thank you, buddy.
You betcha.
Miss you and hope you're doing good. My next one goes out to my new home country of China, because China, there has been a big increase in healthcare quality within the last 10 years. And just this is kind of an interesting fact, Jared. China has invested billions of dollars in healthcare reform, and the country has made spectacular progress. And just in case Jared's worried this is sounding very propaganda-ish, this is coming from NPR.org.
Okay.
So this is not coming
No
from a
one made you
Chinese
say
source. No one made me say this. I don't have a gentleman behind me with a gun pointed to my head saying you need to advocate for healthcare in China. No, this is true. This is coming from NPR, where I would say is a very credible source. And so basically there's been a lot of great progress on the public health care front in China, which includes improving insurance coverage, and the death of children has decreased quite a bit. There are some other issues, though, here in China, which is secondhand smoke and cancer. And the
They
secondhand
still smoke
smoke,
a lot
I mean,
in China, don't they, in general?
Yes,
It's
they
very
do.
smoke heavy.
they do, but I have realized it's gotten a lot better, because before I came here, Jared knows this better than anybody else listening to this podcast. I did all sorts of research. When I say research, really, I watched YouTube videos about people who've been in China. Which,
You mostly look for the horror stories for some reason.
well, I didn't look for them. There are two channels on YouTube, actually three of them, that tend to focus on a lot of the negative in China. And some of it's true. There's definitely some of it's true, but they obviously make it a little clickbaity so people watch it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But one thing that they had mentioned in their videos was that people in China smoke everywhere. So, you get on an elevator, people are smoking. You go into restaurants,
In an
people are
elevator?
smoking. So let me tell you.
hell no.
Let me tell you this, Jared. Since I've been here, I have not had anyone smoking in an elevator. All the restaurants I've been to are smoke-free. So I think maybe in the past, China was like this, but I think it's starting to change. Now, I will tell you, though, I had some problems with my water heater in my apartment. I didn't have hot water for like 4 days. It was terrible. I've never taken
showered with cold water.
yeah, and it was cold. It wasn't even like warm. It was cold. I literally jumped under the shower and jumped out. But anyways, the whole point of this is that, smoking has been a big problem in China, but I think it's getting better. And now this is what's interesting, though, about this article from NPR, Jared. So there have been a collection of 9 peer-reviewed studies, commentaries, and editorials, and reviews of literature from researchers from academic institutions in Beijing, as well as the U.S. and Germany, and found the countries making headway in reducing the incidence of infectious diseases. Here we go, Jared. Like diarrhea, which I have not had once since I've been in China.
True. That's
Hopefully
true.
I didn't just jinx myself. I'm going to knock on my wood table right now. And respiratory illnesses among its 1.3 billion citizens. Now, I will tell you this. I do think that the food quality here in China has probably increased quite a bit, because I haven't had as much as an upset stomach, and I eat out here all the time. Now, I haven't gone crazy and eaten out at street vendors and stuff where the food's been laying out for hours, but I wouldn't do that in the States either.
Right.
So yeah, but anyways, big ups to China. I think it's great that they're making improvements on their healthcare.
Brilliant.
And this is really awesome. If you're curious, check out NPR. I don't know if it's a section or what it's called, but the headline is, well, I think it's a segment. It's Goats and Soda, and then the headline is New Research: China is winning some healthcare battles and losing others, which I mentioned with the whole smoking and lung cancer. But I think that's great. So shout out to China for improving their healthcare over the last 10 years. And I think it's always great when a country invests in something like healthcare and you do see the benefits of it. It's great. My next shout out, Jared, speaking of healthcare, goes out to a Nigerian neurosurgeon who took a pay cut in order to perform free operations and surgeries back in his home country of Nigeria. So Dr. Olawale Suleiman is a professor of neurosurgery and spinal surgery and the chairman for neurosurgery at the Spine Center at the Ochsner Neuroscience Institute in New Orleans. So he actually lives in Louisiana, but splits his time between the U.S. and Nigeria, where he will spend about 12 days each month providing healthcare in the country of his birth, and sometimes for free. So I think this is really amazing that he was willing to do this. And his story itself is also amazing, Jared. So his parents could not afford university tuition, but Suleiman, at the age of 19, received a scholarship to study medicine in Bulgaria through the Bureau for External Aid.
At the age of 15, you said?
19.
Oh.
19. Bureau for External Aid, a Nigerian government program targeted at improving the quality of life for Nigeria's most vulnerable communities. And Suleiman said the scholarship opened many doors, and in turn, he feels responsible to give back through healthcare. Africans who have had the privilege of getting outstanding training and education abroad must mobilize their network of influence to transform our continent, he said. So I think it's really amazing. This guy is doing a lot of great things. He's helping out people not only in Louisiana, but also in his home country, and just seems like a hardworking, amazing man. So I want to send lots of love to Dr. Suleiman. That's really great and amazing, everything he has been doing.
I agree. That does sound great. We need more people like that in the world.
Yes, we do. You know what else sounds great, Jared?
We also need more untranslatables in this world.
You better believe it.
And that's what the Untranslatable podcast here is to provide for you greedy people asking for more and more. We need more untranslatables. If you want to help, you could send us some to Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram or Untranslatable1, the number 1. I guess
Twitter.
I'll start. On Twitter, yeah, sorry. My first one is Catalan. Where do you put the Catalan? Mm-hmm. And it's 25 centimes.
So is that something with 5?
Yeah. Make it 5 cents.
Make it 5 cents. Is that like can keep the change?
No.
No. Okay.
So, for example, I was at a wedding yesterday, and the best man seemed like a lovely guy, by the way. But I would have told him
is this
that
like
he might need
shorten it
to, yeah,
Shorten it up. Okay. Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Wrap it up. Okay.
exactly. Yep, make it short.
Okay. Nice. Oh, that's funny. Make it 5 cents. That makes sense. All right.
Yeah,
That makes sense. See what I
or
did
it's
there?
kind of like what is it? It's like not a penny for your thoughts. My 2 cents. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah, my 2 cents. Yeah. All right, so I have some Turkish ones. I don't know why. I just wanted to do some Turkish ones today. And I have a Chinese untranslatable. We'll start with the Chinese one because I'm going to probably butcher the pronunciation. Not that I won't butcher the Turkish ones as well.
I was going to say, why do you say it like that? Like you're going to nail the other ones.
So here we go. It is... and I don't have the pinyin in front of me, so I don't know if I'm stressing the syllables, stressing the tones properly, but we're going to give it a try. So it is Go Gai Bu Lao Chi Shi, which means dogs can't help eating shit.
Oh, shish is not... I thought that was thank you.
No. And it's Chi Shi. So not
It's
shisha.
Oh. It's just like... You can't stop people from you can't change someone essentially.
Oh, very good. Hit that ham horn. Very good. Yeah. The English untranslatable we have is a tiger doesn't change its stripes.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Can't
basically
teach an
people
old
don't
dog
change.
new tricks.
Right.
I have some French Canadian ones.
Très
My
bien.
first one is a lot of them. At
Do
first
they
I
all
just
involve
thought
hockey and maple syrup? No, I'm just kidding.
it's funny you say that. The reason I specifically chose all of these is because there's something very Canadian about all of these.
Okay.
And hockey is one of them.
Yes, perfect. All right, let's hear these.
I'll let you start with that one, and it's naisser avec la puck,
Something about the puck.
to tease the puck.
To tease the puck. Is this like to pull somebody's leg?
No, To tease the puck, not teasing as like a ha-ha, tease as like a you tease kind of thing.
Okay.
Not that sexual. I made it way more sexual than it had to be. But when I said
that definitely had some. Okay, huh?
some
Let's see
sexual
here.
undertones there.
That's
I didn't
right.
mean that.
Can you give me an
But
example?
it's that style of tease, not like teasing, making fun of.
So
someone.
it's like, is it like to flirt?
No. It's not a flirting related thing. I just meant that's the sort
Okay.
of tease you should use, not the.
Is it like to do something delicately?
No, to tease the puck. You're not even close, really.
What is it?
To beat around the bush.
Oh, interesting. Okay, to beat around the bush. Okay.
To not get to
All
the
right.
point, essentially.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So I'll give you a Turkish one. It is Seitan Tüyü, which means the devil's feather.
The devil's feather. Dressed provocatively. Wearing the devil's feather.
I would say you could tell someone that they are or they I don't know if it's they are or they have a devil's feather. I'm not sure.
Okay.
If they were dressing provocatively, you could say that, but that's not what it means.
Oh man, they have a devil's feather.
I'm trying to
Like
think
a rebel?
A rebel, I would
Or it's
also
like you
say.
got like a naughty, not naughty, but you got like a bad streak, you know?
I will. You're so close. I'm going to give it to you.
Okay.
I'm going to give it to you. Basically, the devil's feather means that somebody who has like kind of a mysterious devilish charm. So I would say like a rebel definitely would, or like if you dress kind of provocatively in a
leather
certain
jackets.
way. Right. And sadly, I don't have a leather jacket right now, but I need to find one so I
Yeah.
can get my devil's feather on. But yeah. So it's like a mysterious devilish charm. Those some people you look at and you're like, they might be a bad guy, but they're kind of sexy.
Yes. No, I know what you mean. I know what
Yep.
you mean. Okay. Calais l'original.
Something about original.
No, to call a moose.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay, you're
Yeah,
calling
I don't.
moose.
Is original the moose? I guess I don't know. I didn't know that. but-
I don't know. I have no idea. Is that to call a cab? Call a taxi?
No, that's hilarious though.
To call
It
a
also
moose.
has something to do with. So obviously, moose is very Canadian, but it also has something to do with another thing that Canadians are very known for enjoying.
Maple syrup? Poutine?
Wow. This is somehow this untranslatable section just turned
Molson's?
so offensive toward. Yes, actually.
Was it Molson's, really?
Not specifically Molson's.
But beer. Beer.
Yeah. Alcohol.
Call a moose. Is that like to order another round of beer?
To have a hangover.
Oh, okay. Call a moose to have a hangover.
Yeah.
I like that one. Okay.
I don't
know,
really
this has
understand
been-
why, but
Right. Well, it's funny though. There's a lot of different languages where something like an animal. Oh, excuse me. Animal is really. This is what happens when we do these right when I wake up. I need to just wake up earlier so I'm more awake. Anyways,
but it's not going to happen.
probably not. But
I wouldn't either.
There's a lot of countries and cultures that use animals for hangovers. Like in Czech, you say "Mamo pizzi," I have a monkey. In German, you say I have a male cat. There are tons of them. That's really funny though. To call a moose, I love that. All right, Jared, my last one for you is Turkish, and it is Havadan Sudan, of the air and water.
Say that again?
Of the air and water.
Oh, you
Havadan
you
Sudan.
said it and translated it in one go.
Oh, sorry. Havadan Sudan.
No, I got you now. I thought
Yeah.
that was I thought it was that with the English part too.
No, that would be really
whoa.
fascinating.
So of the air and water, is it like like someone's sort of always with you?
No, we have an English untranslatable for this one, and it has to do with the breeze.
With the breeze of the air and water, it's very windy.
No, the
have no idea.
breeze.
Drew Brees.
So Jared, you in some ways you could say some of our episodes have been, or at least the top of the show talk is of the air and water, for example. You could also say that Americans and apparently also Turkish people are very good at doing something of the air and water, especially in Michigan.
Oh, like effortless? I don't know. I don't understand what you're getting at here.
What is something that you really dislike about United States culture? Something we do. You know, you're waiting in line at the grocery store, or you're at something
shoot
for
the
work.
shit?
Shoot, I was gonna say shoot the breeze, but yeah,
shoot the
shit.
breeze. Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, so of the air and water just means like to basically talk about nothing for a long time, or like having small talk.
See, that's what I thought you meant when you brought up the top of the show talk, but I kind of got offended. I was like, wow, I see how it is.
Sometimes it's just
you're actually right.
Yeah, so sometimes it's small talk.
Okay, I have one more French one. Sure, I'll give it to you. Why not? Être vite sur ses patines. And it means to be quick on one's skates. Another
That's just quick on your feet. You're a quick thinker. That's an easy one. I like that one though. That to me does
Quick
sound
on the
very
skates.
Canadian. Quick on the skates. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Are you quick on the skates, Jared? In the literal and figurative sense?
Definitely not in the literal sense.
Okay.
Although I'm not terrible on ice skates. I'm better than I thought. I remember I told you I went ice skating in Philadelphia, and I was like super nervous beforehand, and then I was like flying around the
Ice skating is a lot of fun.
Not bad.
It was funny. There was a little ice rink in a mall in Mongolia, and I was so tempted to be like, oh, I need to write this address down. I want to come back here and go ice skating. I love ice skating. But anyways,
They
ice
can
skating
do outdoor ice skating, can't they? Do they have a lot of lakes and stuff?
I don't know. I didn't see one lake while I was there. I did see some rivers, but rivers usually don't freeze. But anyways, let's talk about culture, Jared. Let's answer the question our listeners have been begging to know. What is culture? And they came here to the experts to find out what it is.
I think I have culture is to countries as like personality is to people.
Oh, I like that. That's good.
Like it's like a personality of a region or of like a group of people, like a collective sort of group of people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would agree 100%.
And that's usually how I like to look at it. But what aspects of culture do you seek out? Say you're going on a vacation to a new place. Now, maybe it depends on where you're going, but what are some of your favorite ways to get immerse yourself into the culture, figure out what a culture is really like?
I'm surprised you're asking me this, Jared, because when I say the answer, you're going to be like, oh yeah, I knew that. But for me, it's always arts and music. Arts and music are the way I love to experience a culture, just because, well, I'll actually say three things: arts, music, and food. Because I think those are all experiences that you can really, like, I don't, I love architecture and I love walking around cities, and I think that's great, or the countryside or wherever. But I think there's just something that I personally really take from going to see concerts or seeing art, and also experiencing the food. I think for me, these are experiences that I tend to remember longer than if I were to just walk around and, see some beautiful sights.
Yes.
So that's why for me.
The thing I also like about the food part is yes, you can experience culture through the actual eating of food, but you can also just experience culture in how people do meals. Like different cultures have different ways of having dinner or different expectations from dinner, and even just seeing we always talk about Europeans get annoyed at how quickly meals might go at restaurants in the United States, and even just where you can tell where priorities lie sometimes through stuff like that too. That's what I want to say.
Well, and not only that, but I think culture has a lot to do with what certain places and people consider normal, because normal is different everywhere you go. But before we jump more into this, Jared, I want to share a couple definitions with you of culture.
Okay.
Not that you didn't cover it. I think you covered it very eloquently when you mentioned it. But I just want to give these to our listeners so they can have some reference. And there's something interesting I find because we use culture in English kind of for two different things. We use it to describe, like you said, collectives, countries, people, regions, things like this. We also use it, though, in biology. And so there's two different meanings of culture, which I think is interesting. So number one, if you have access to Google and you go on Google and you type in define culture, you will find, number one, the arts and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. For example, 20th century popular culture. Another one is a refined understanding or I hate this definition. A refined understanding or appreciation of culture. In my opinion, you can't use the word in the definition.
Come on.
Yeah, that's lame. And then a definition they have here is men of culture. So here I think they're talking about like education. Then number two, though, the customs, arts, social institutions, and achievements of a particular nation, people, or other social group. So, for example, Caribbean culture or Caribbean culture, depending on how you say it, people from many different cultures. Then the little subset of that one is the attitudes and behavior characteristics of a particular social group. So those are our definitions of culture, what we're talking about today. However, the biology definition is the cultivation of
bacteria. We're talking about blood cultures.
Right. So the biology definition is the cultivation of bacteria, tissue cells, etc., in an artificial medium containing nutrients. A preparation of cells obtained from a culture. Once again, you can't use the word, but whatever. A cultivation of plants. And now the reason why I read the biological definition as well is because I like this word cultivation. I think culture in general, whether you're looking at it at a biological sense or a cultural sense or like a nation or something like that, a lot of it has to do with cultivation. It's a cultivation of knowledge. It's a cultivation of tradition. It's a cultivation of some places trial and error, what works, what doesn't work. And so that's why I wanted to mention that, because I think it's really interesting that this idea of cultivating things, I think, has a lot to do with culture.
And much like the cultivation of, say, like a bacteria or something, hold on, you're going to love this. It's alive, It's
Don't
always
make me
changing.
Okay, good. I was hoping you were going to make me spit out my water. I'm going to take a sip.
It's always changing. It's always like growing, and you can never really like put a pinpoint on like you can never put a pinpoint on what it is for too long, because there's no way it'll stay like that. And different things will you can learn different things about cultures by watching it grow over time or watching how it changes over time.
Absolutely.
And
that's what makes culture so cool. Absolutely, Jared. You're 100% right.
We should also do an episode about like generations,
Oh, that would be a good one.
And
that would be a good one.
Because I think, because there's the classic, like, those kids don't know anything about, this, or they don't, care about that stuff anymore. They don't even know what it means to listen to good music or whatever it is old people
exactly
say about
and
us.
there's always a generation gap between our parents and ourselves, and even like I notice there's a generation gap between me and my niece and my nephews.
Oh, for sure.
And that would be a great episode. That's an awesome idea. I love that.
Yes.
Culture though, I think, is also what makes traveling and learning languages so fascinating, because at least I personally think it really broadens. I know it's a big cliche, but it really does broaden like your perceptions and your ways of thinking. I mean, for me, I've never been to Asia before. This is my first time, and it's definitely made me think a lot differently of things. And after I said that, I was trying to think of examples, and of course, I'm not coming up with any right now. That's always how that works, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so eye-opening, and I think that the idea of normal is challenged when you visit other cultures, because I think it can be very toxic and very dangerous when you just assume that your home country or your culture is the quote-unquote right way to do things, or the normal way, and the way other people do it is wrong or abnormal.
Right.
And I think that can be really dangerous, and it's not really helpful. I think it's important to take the bits and pieces from other cultures. and figure out what's good and what's bad about them. And ideally, hopefully, in a better tomorrow, we're able to kind of take the best of all these different cultures and use them. And I think that's the great thing about the United States as well, is that we have so many cultures in one place in the United States. And it's really amazing. We're very fortunate.
Okay, so a bit ago you mentioned ways that you like to experience culture, food, live music, and shows. Let's talk about some other ways. Let's just like brainstorm back and forth some ways.
Sounds good.
I'm going to say religion. That's one.
That can be a big one.
It's a big part of culture for some places. The U.S.
Absolutely.
Some Middle Eastern places, some
not only
South American places.
Oh, definitely. Well, not only that, but I think religion also gives kind of a backbone or a foundation of how the culture could currently be, right? So if you don't understand anything about Islam and you go to the Middle East, you're probably not going to be able to understand their culture as much because you don't understand a religion that plays such a heavy role in their even their current lives. Whereas religion is really interesting where I am in China because you're not allowed, unless you're considered a religious expert, so I would assume like a priest or someone like that, like you are not legally allowed to teach religion in China unless you're an expert on it. And some of that I think has to do with the fact that
how many self-proclaimed experts, religious experts do we have here in the U.S.?
Too many, way too many, that's for sure. But it's really interesting though because China does have, in the past there were Buddhists here. There were monks and different things. Then you have other ways of thought. I'm not sure really if you would call that a religion or what, but you have like things like Taoism, Confucianism. You have all these different things, and I'm also not sure. Where do you draw the line between what is a religion versus like a philosophy or like a kind of a way of thought or something? I'm not really sure.
Right.
But you're right. The religion is a great way to experience culture. And if you are of some type of religion, if you're a Christian or you're Jewish or you follow Islam, you can also experience culture through that religious path and see how it's different. I mean, Christian churches in the U.S. are very different than churches and cathedrals in Europe for the most part.
Right.
And so yeah, I think religion's a really great way. I would say another way that we try to promote here is language. I think language is a great way to experience culture, even if it's just learning some words and phrases. And I have to say, Jared, I feel like a hypocrite doing this podcast because I have not been doing my due diligence while I've been here in China, nor did I do my due diligence in Mongolia, and that needs to change.
Is it easy to get through, have you heard of people in your position, other fellows, that have gone through their entire time in China without learning a lick of it or like trying to? I assume that's very easy to do.
Yep. It is, and it's because we live in very anglicized bubbles here in China. All the students I interact with all speak English. My colleagues with whom I communicate also speak English. The only time I need it is when I go out and I want to buy something, whether that's like clothing or food, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Right, and that's about it.
So
because
do your colleagues, like your coworkers at work that are Chinese, all speak English?
Most of them do. I mean, all the ones that I talk to, yeah. I would assume, in theory, they all can read and write English because they had to take a test to get into college where English has been on that test for a long time. But reading and writing skills are very different than speaking and listening, which is kind of ironic because my Chinese skills in general are terrible, but my speaking skills are significantly better than my reading and writing because I cannot read or write Chinese characters. So yeah, but I think language is a great kind of, it's like a key to unlock the door of culture is when you speak the language.
And it's also a great glimpse into like things like tone for it, like as well. Like maybe you go somewhere and you're like, why are these people so angry at me? And it's like, no, this is just how they talk or something like that.
Exactly.
The other thing.
Let me finish up with language. The last thing about language too, though, is it also gives you a glimpse into the humor, which I think humor is a big thing in culture. And a little teaser for you and our listeners, Jared, when we get to the jokes today, I have jokes from different countries. So we can kind of talk about that a little bit.
And you were
so that
saying,
should
like,
be
for
fun.
example, you're saying in when you were at Homotov that a lot of your Czech students had very dark humor.
Czech humor to me in a lot of ways reminded me a lot of British humor. It's a little bit more dry, a little bit darker. I liked it. It was funny, but it's definitely, it's like, I feel like a lot of American humor is very slapstick. It's very
ridiculous.
Yeah, ridiculous. Like we laugh at crazy exaggerations, whereas British people, I think, and Czech people, from my experiences, it seems like it's more, not as much exaggeration, more sarcasm, a bit darker,
Like
things
blunt.
like that. Yeah, definitely more blunt for sure.
Yeah, like blunt for sort of shocking reasons. Anyway,
Right.
I have another one, and I wrote something, but I'm gonna say museums / history.
Oh, absolutely. It's vital, I think.
Is a great way.
And I don't know if I... Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say you can get a great glimpse into the culture just based off of sort of like what hotels, what museums are the popular ones, what sort of has their the most renowned work or the most renowned pieces, which is a natural history museum, is it a art museum, is it a science museum, I don't know.
And then you also learn about important figures that you can talk about with people of whatever country you're visiting, So like for
Gives
me,
you context of
exactly
of what's happening in the country that you're in.
And
Maybe.
I don't know if I mentioned, Jared, but I actually ended up going to the Mongolian Museum of History.
I don't know if you did mention that.
But it was awesome. It was really great.
I remember seeing the pictures, though.
Well, those pictures are from a different museum because the Mongolian...
right. You did say that. You couldn't take pictures.
Yeah, because I couldn't take pictures.
Yes.
And trust me, there was so much I wanted to take a picture of. But yeah, I think history and museums are great, and it's fun. I would say it's an interactive way to learn. But we've mentioned this on the podcast before. My brain, I can handle like maximum two maybe 3 hours in a museum. After that, I'm done.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
3's kind of pushing it for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
2's probably about my limit. And really, that's probably only because of the other person I'm with, if I'm going to be in there that long. Do you have another one?
Let me see here. We've talked about music. We've talked about history. I would say another big one, too, is politics.
Yes. Ooh, that is a good one.
Politics is a big one. And because I think politics influence a lot of... it kind of shows a nation's thought process, right? Is there a one-party system? Is there a two-party system? Is there
also how they
a
talk
coalition?
about politics is
Absolutely.
huge.
And whether or not they do talk about it is another one.
Right.
Because at least my experience here in China is that people talk about politics, but they don't really criticize the government. Whereas in the States, we criticize the government all the time. But this is also interesting. I heard from a friend of mine who speaks English and Mandarin fluently that when he talks about politics in China in English, people are they look at him as being very judgmental to the Chinese government or whatever. But when he talks about politics with Chinese people in Chinese, he says even Chinese people, they don't necessarily complain about the government, but they will complain about certain politicians or whatever. So I find that fascinating, that because I think of it as, there's a famous quote by Nelson Mandela that says, I'm trying to remember the quote here. He says something along the lines of when you talk to someone in their second language, you're talking to their brain. When you talk to someone in their mother tongue, you're talking to their heart. So I'm wondering if by him engaging them in English, they're thinking on a much more logical level, or maybe not, but they're thinking of it or they're viewing it with a different lens, a different perspective.
Right.
Whereas when he talks to them in Mandarin, it's going straight to their heart. There's no filters there. So I found that really fascinating. But yeah, politics is an interesting one.
Maybe just also the very process of having to translate something puts it through like it already makes you sort of think about something extra, even past just the translation part of it.
Right.
Because what are they really saying here? Okay, so you said music. Can I say nightlife though? Is that fair?
Oh, for sure. That's
like
completely
bars and
fair.
clubs.
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I think those are separate.
I would agree. 100%. Not only nightlife, but just drinking culture in general.
Yes.
And I would even be willing to say, because I don't want to exclude our Middle Eastern friends, because most of those countries they don't drink. But
Well,
I would
think
say
that's
just
the drinking culture. No
Right.
drinking.
But I think a lot of those cultures they do smoke. They smoke either
Yeah.
hookah or cigarettes, and so it's definitely interesting what kind of indulgences different places
Everybody's
have.
got something.
Oh, for sure, absolutely.
Do you have any more? Because I have one more that I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Style and outfits, clothing.
Oh, absolutely. Clothing is a big one.
Remember
And the
when we were
funny
in Berlin, we were looking. We were like, that was a very clear sign
prime
into
people watching.
into their culture. Mm-hmm. Very alternative, very like
Crazy colors, crazy
yes.
stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think food and clothing and outfits and all that stuff is definitely a big aspect of culture. How you are willing to represent yourself in the public eye. And I will
Yes.
tell you that. So now I've only been to 2 Asian countries, which are Mongolia and China, but the style could not have been more different. Now,
How
when
so?
I say that, I'm so glad you asked, Jared. When I say that, is so current Mongolian people dress very westernized. So what I say is they legit have Western clothing stores in Mongolia. So you have things like Levi's. There was Levi's. We jokingly would call it Levi's because that's how a lot of other countries pronounce the brand Levi's. They say Levi's. I know lots of German people who say Levi's and not Levi's.
I've never heard that.
Yeah. But yeah, so they had Levi's, they had H&M, they had Tom Taylor, all these different Western clothing stores. Whereas in China, you get those in big cities. Like if I go downtown Jinan, I can find H&M. I have now been to Uniqlo, which I love. Uniqlo was awesome. They had tons of different flannels. I'm a flannel man myself. That's my culture right there, the
betcha.
flannel. But I find that Chinese people in general tend to still have a more Eastern style, like the clothes they wear to me almost seem like something we would have worn in the 90s maybe. Like a lot of people still wear baggier pants here. They wear a lot of pants with like patches and writing and designs on them.
Oh, I remember patches.
Yep. People here wear, like, even the clothing style here, the color schemes are different in China than they were in Mongolia. In Mongolia, I will tell you, man, I think the people had a lot of style. Like, people just look stylish. The men and women had really, like, nicely styled hair. They had cool clothes. I felt like I was in Europe, to be honest with you, in terms of, like, looking at their clothing. Like, guys and girls wore really nice shoes. In Europe, I think people also tend to wear nicer shoes. Now they're wearing sneakers are becoming a lot more popular. But I will tell you this, though, Jared, regarding sneakers, the sneaker game in China is definitely on point. Like, I've seen some really cool sneakers. They're probably not legit Nikes or legit Adidas, but the color schemes are awesome.
Why do you have to?
I see.
No need to bring it up. They're nice shoes. That's all that matters.
That's true. That is true. One thing I've noticed, too, here in China is I see a ton of people wearing sneakers where they'll wear like one blue sneaker and one red one. And I don't know if they buy them like that or if they buy two pairs and they mix it. I don't really know.
I bet you both. I bet you
Probably.
Both.
Yeah. But so that's really interesting. Like I'll see people walking. I'm like, wait a minute. Like that sneaker's black and that was white. The American in me is like, what are you doing? Like they're two different sneakers. But
Right.
that's kind of what the style is here. So yeah, I would agree with you, Jared. Clothing is a big one.
Okay.
I want to play a
I think
quick
that's
game
all I
with
got
you,
off the top of
Jared.
my head.
Good.
As
I
far
want to
as
play
I
quick.
meant, as far as like ways to tell culture. Oh,
Right.
diversity.
Or lack thereof. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a big one. And I will say that I think a lot of places in the U.S., not our rural farm towns, but other places, towns, bigger towns and cities in the States, I think do a great job with diversity. It's not perfect everywhere, but I think the more liberal leaning places in the States tend to pride themselves on being diverse and welcoming of other cultures. And I think that's amazing. I think that's really great.
And that's that's also part of that that culture being a living thing. You know, you get influences from other cultures, and it forms could change what your culture looks like.
Oh, absolutely. And culture, the only thing that stays consistent about culture is the fact that it will always be changing. I know it sounds like an oxymoron there, but it's very true. So, Jared, I want to play a game with you. So, and I do this with my students. So, you're going to be my student for a moment, Jared. And
You betcha.
So, we're going to play a game called the 3 Ps. And these Ps stand for products, practices, and perspectives. So a product is something tangible that a country makes or culture makes, right? So in academia, there's really no agreed upon definition of culture. Like there's no one definition where everyone goes, yep, that's what culture is, right? Mm-hmm. But what we can do is we can break down culture. This is fairly accepted in like fields of like study abroad and other fields where you can break down culture in terms of products, practices, and perspectives. So products are tangible things. Well, it could be tangible and intangible, but these are things that a culture will make or produce, right? So this is art, architecture, music, food, clothing, all that stuff. Practices are... I don't want to mix these up here. I'm trying to think now. Products, practice. Yeah, so practices are like ways of life in a culture. So like how you greet people, topics that are okay to talk about, topics that are not okay to talk about. And then perspectives are like the underlying thoughts and beliefs behind why we do what we do. So why in America is it okay to hug somebody, whereas in Asia, people tend not to hug when they greet people? That would be like a different perspective, okay?
Right, okay.
So what I'm going to do is we're going to start off with products. Products tend to be the easier ones to just identify like this. So I'm going to give you a country, and I want you to give me some products. These could be works of art. These could be cars. These could be companies, whatever, okay?
Gotcha, okay.
So here we go. And I'll rattle some of mine off after you go. So we'll start with our home country. We're both Americans. USA. What are some products that come to your mind when you think of USA, Jared?
The big 3, I think of Ford, GM, and Chrysler.
Okay.
I think of fast food.
So McDonald's, stuff like that.
Yes.
Okay.
I think of Hollywood. Like I think of blockbuster movies.
Sure.
Hot dogs.
Hot dogs. Okay.
What
Any
else?
other
What
products?
else do you have?
So for me, some products. Right. For me, some products that I think of. You mentioned cars, so I'll leave cars out of it. Nike. Nike is a very famous American brand. Also, I think of Levi's. I wear Levi's jeans myself. I love them. When I think of products, too, though, I also think of all the great American music. So jazz music, blues music, country music, rap music, hip-hop, all that stuff, rock.
Yes.
I think music is really what makes America great in so many different ways because we have such amazing artists and a history of amazing music. What other products? When I think of like food in terms of products, I think of American food as a hodgepodge of all sorts of different food influences, like all these random fusion restaurants. To me, in a way that to me seems kind of American. Just because it's like you're just blending like Mexican and Korean or something.
Coca-Cola, that's also very American.
Coca-Cola, that's true. Michigan one would be Verner's and Faygo. For going down even further. Let's see here. Another product when I think of Michigan, I think of cherries and I think of apples because of Traverse City cherries.
Well, that's
and
Michigan
there've always been apples
specifically.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, okay, good. So so now let's talk about practices in the U.S. So what are some like practices, things that are okay or not okay to do in the U.S.?
Talk to strangers.
Is that okay or not okay?
That is okay. It's okay to. It's okay to talk very loudly in public.
Unfortunately, yes. Yes.
It's okay to ask personal questions to strangers, I think.
I would agree with that. Okay, good. This is good. So, and then in terms of greetings, what kind of greetings are okay in the States, Jared?
Handshaking is okay.
Yep. I would say in any business setting, that's the go-to.
Yeah. People are pretty free with hugs.
Yep. Are you a hugger, Jared?
Yeah, I don't like hugging strangers, but yeah, I'm a hugger with like friends and
Because
stuff
you and
like
I
that.
hug every time we see each other. I'm a hugger
Yeah,
myself.
I hug all my friends when I
Right.
see them. It feels weird like shaking their hand.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah.
Yeah. What kind of greetings are okay?
I'd say the head nod to someone that you might not know
Yes.
very well. The little.
Or like the
Upwards head
smile
nod.
where you're just like,
Oh, that smile. Gotta love it. Yeah.
yeah, where you like kind of just purse your lips essentially.
Right. Right. Okay. Good. These are all good.
Okay.
So now I want to ask you. So now we're going to dig deeper, Jared. So now it's time. This is where it gets trickier. Now it's time for the perspectives. So why do you think in the States it's okay to talk to strangers and even ask them personal questions?
Why is it okay to do that? That's a tough question.
It is. This is why the perspectives, when I teach my students these things, we always talk about perspectives last because maybe we should do it first because it's more difficult. But
Right.
But it's difficult to understand the underlying beliefs and thoughts especially of an entire culture.
I think the United States and Americans in general, our culture does have a general sense of like we feel like we deserve stuff. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we
Sense of
expect
entitlement?
a lot of yes, thank you. I think a lot of that sort of talking to people and thinking that you can just walk up to someone and ask like a black person, oh, is that your real hair or is that fake or something?
Oh,
like that. I don't
God.
know. I just
Oh,
made
God.
something up.
Right,
But,
right. I
but,
mean,
like,
people do that.
People do
People
that.
do that, yeah.
That was not a wild example that I just gave.
Right. Sadly not. It should be, but it's not. Yeah. Well, I will. Let me tell you, Jared. I think the reason why I would agree with you that there is a lot of sense of entitlement in the States, but I think another reason why, an underlying belief in the States, is that I think we really value individualism. Mm-hmm. And so it's important to get to know the person on an individual level, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas other cultures, like I can tell you being in China is a much more collectivist culture. You do the good for many, not the good for one, because the population is so much bigger here, and you kind of have to, in a lot of cities and a lot of places in Europe. I would say it's more about collectivism. It's not about the freedoms and rights of the individual, but the freedoms and rights of the community as a whole. And I think that's something that's very unique about the United States, is that our culture is very, I think we like to think of ourselves as all these special, beautiful little flowers, and in a lot of other countries, it's not viewed that way. So yeah.
And I think another part of that individualism is the freedom part of it. Like I think in general, our culture is very connected to that sort of illusion, I'll say, that you can do whatever you want and that, the world's sort of your oyster here. And even though that's the case in many other very free countries in the world, we really sort of embrace that as like our like a kind of like our like a point of pride about how free we are.
Absolutely. Okay, so now we'll just do products because this in itself could be an entire other episode.
Right.
But we'll just do products, and I'm going to name some countries, and just give me like the first 3 that pop in your head.
Okay.
For products. So Japan.
Technology, cars, seafood.
Oh, okay. Let's see. When I think of Japan, I think of anime. 3 things.
Oh, yeah.
Anime, working very hard. Like there's a word, I forget the word, but there's a word in Japanese that means to literally work yourself to death. Mm-hmm. So anime, hardworking, and I would agree with the technology or innovation.
Well, you said products. Okay. I guess working hard is not really a product, but
oh, you're right.
I would also throw in if we're gonna do these general things about the culture, I would also throw in like also very collectivist. I feel like
You're right. I really missed that one there. Yeah. Working hard would not be a product. I would say the innovation, the technology that they make because of the hard work, that would be the product. Mm-hmm. Good. Mm-hmm. Okay. Germany.
I mean, obviously, once again, cars. Beer.
Mm-hmm.
What's another one? I can't. This is tough. I don't want to use cars again because I just used that one. But I said beer. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Adidas.
Okay. Yeah. Big
And
one.
obviously I could say Puma too if I wanted to.
Right. Yep.
They used to be brothers.
Yep. Hated each other, but they were brothers. Yeah.
What are some other? They used to be brothers. I guess they never stopped being brothers. What are some
Right.
other like big brands from Germany?
Well, another big product of Germany, I would say, is I love artists
Cake.
from Germany. Cake is a good one. Cake is a
Music,
good
of
one.
course, classical
Art,
music.
Bach, Beethoven, Handel.
A lot of like psychology coming from there too. Mm-hmm. You know,
Yeah.
like isn't Freud from there?
Freud's Austrian, but yeah.
Oh, he's Austrian. Sorry,
Yep.
everyone.
Little brothers, little brothers. Our Austrian listeners probably won't like that, but yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, when I think of Germany, I think of really good sausage
Einstein.
and good schnitzel. I think of, like I said, art. There's a lot like Albrecht Dürer is like a very famous German artist. Check out The Hair if you have never seen any of his art. That's kind of a cool one. And yeah, music.
Precision. I mean, that's not a product, but I think precision
That's
when
a
I think
practice.
Germany.
That would be a practice,
Yeah.
I would say.
Okay.
Or maybe even a perspective. That kind of blends into both. And that's the thing. I think products, there's a more clear line, whereas practices
Right.
and perspectives, there's a little bit more blurriness to them.
I could see perspective too because they have a very like respect when it comes to being on time and stuff like that.
Right. Tanzania.
Products, avocados, bananas. I remember that from when I was there.
Okay.
Music, I would say, is probably a big one. I'm not a huge fan of Tanzanian music, but I know they have a very strong musical culture there.
Cool. Okay.
Another product. Another product. I can't think of anything else.
Is there any type of like specific food other than nanners and avocados?
Man,
Putting you on the spot.
I know. I'm not a Tanzania expert, people. I went there once and it was a good time, but I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
All right, that's okay. How about Czech Republic? I'm very curious to see what you have to say for this one.
I mean, obviously, one of their big products is beer.
Yep.
Skoda is
Yep.
also
It's cars. Yep. Uh-huh.
Czech. What else is Czech? I would say there's definitely well, you could for product. Could you say like architecture?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Okay.
something people make. Yeah.
Okay, I would say
Czech
that's a big
architecture's cool.
big part of Czech Republic. There's I don't know how big their music scene is, but obviously there's like a Dvorak is a Dvorak and
Dvorak.
Dvorak is a popular Czech export. And he's
Czech
a
composer.
Yeah.
Another good one is Bedřich Smetana. Check him out.
Okay.
I think you'd like his stuff, Jared.
Okay.
Smetana. Yeah, for me, when I think of the Czech Republic, so many products come to mind because I lived there for a year.
Right.
Number one is Kofola, which is like the Czech version of Coca-Cola.
Okay.
I think, did you guys try that? Did you and Don try it?
I
I don't know if you did.
I don't remember. Oh, speaking of Germany, Apfelschorle is very German to me as well.
Oh, that's true. But Kofola is great. Svíčková, which is that traditional Czech meal. That's one of my favorites. I miss it dearly. There's a Czech restaurant I found in Beijing, so I might have to go try it and see.
Oh my gosh.
I'll probably just be disappointed, but
I would love
you
this
never know.
review. I'm
Right?
very excited to hear what it's
You never
like.
know.
Or you find
Do
the
a podcast
best
from
Svíčková you've
within
ever had.
Right? Oh, that would be hilarious. That would be so funny. Svíčková, so Kofola, Svíčková. Also knedlik, which are the dumplings. But one of my other favorite Czech foods is called nakladený hermelín, which
I love
is
how it's all food.
I know, right? I love Czech food. But nakladený hermelín is the pickled hermelín cheese. And so it's this really soft, tasty cheese that they have like a pepper on top, usually, and some onions.
Another speaking of music scenes, they do have a big don't they have a big like blues/rock scene there as well?
In Prague, they have a big, I would say, blues or jazz scene. In the Czech Republic, they still love their classic rock, and they love Czech country music.
Right. Okay.
And I became a big country music fan while I was in the Czech Republic. I think
Yeah,
some of it is
I've heard.
when you're away from your home country. I think there are certain things you cling to from your own culture. That, like, I know. For example, there are a lot of Turkish Germans that tend to be a lot more traditional and more religious than people who live in Turkey. And some of that is because they moved to Germany and then that's the part of their identity, their cultural identity they hang on to. So for me, it was country music. You know, it could have been blues music. It could have been jazz. Don't know why, but it was country music. Some of it has to do with my buddy David introducing me to some current country artists that I really enjoy.
Right.
And then I just kind of backtracked.
A lot of the blues and stuff that you said it could have been, the harder thing with that is you already have, like, a lot of that stuff you already know. It would be less discovering of stuff.
That's
and a lot
true.
of that stuff already has maybe, like, you don't have the ability really to put fresh memories to those songs.
Right.
It makes you think of maybe when you heard it in high school or something like that.
That's a great point, Jared. That's true. I think we should do an episode eventually on cultural identity and how it changes. That might be a cool one.
Yeah.
That would be a really cool one. But yeah. Yeah, but I think the main thing about this whole little game we played about products, practice, and perspectives is I think this is a good way to try to look at culture and gain an understanding of it. Because if you can identify some products or some practices, or especially I think you have a good understanding if you understand the perspectives of culture. You know, what is the thought behind people doing what they do? And it's really interesting. It's really fascinating. So to all of our listeners out there, let us know some of the 3 Ps, product, practices, or perspectives of your own culture. We would love to hear about it at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. or Untranslatable Podcast on Instagram as well. And I think the big thing about culture, like you said, Jared, is the fact that it is rooted in tradition, but it does change. And I think it is a very living thing. I would agree with you big time.
Yes.
But yeah, I think we've somewhat answered the question of culture.
Yeah, you're welcome, everyone.
That's right. Everyone was curious. Now I think it's time that we talk about some good tunes, Jared.
You betcha.
Yes. I like this song.
Our song of the pod for today, you're good. It is a good one. It's called Cherry Cola by the artist, I think it's pronounced Kuwada or Kuvada. It's Kuwada. I did research over here, Jared. I couldn't find much of anything about the artist. I don't know if they're Japanese, if they're Japanese American. I don't know if you can find something better in the States.
I did. There's he's from oh wait, I don't know either. Now I'm just realizing. But I found his Instagram. I guess you don't have the. Oh wait, no, I just found his Facebook. Maybe I can find it there.
Okay. So on Spotify, that's the music
from
app.
Hawaii.
From Hawaii. There we go. Okay, cool. But the song is called Cherry Cola, and let's describe the tune to our listeners, Jared, since we unfortunately can't play it.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of reminds me of a summer song. I'll say that. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the Hawaii in them. And it's like what I don't know how do you explain it. I mean, like modern day, like would you say it's like an R&B vibe, or is that not the right way to explain it? I don't know how to explain it. I'm really
interesting. I don't know if I'd give it an R&B vibe. I would say it's definitely a mid-tempo song. Like, it's not fast by any means. I would say it's more chill. I don't know if I would call it R&B. Like, when I think of R&B, I think of, like, singers really belting it out. Not that the artist, not that John Kuwada doesn't have a great voice. I think he does have a great voice. But to me, it doesn't have that sultry kind of R&B sound to it, personally. But you know, music is all about interpretation. Go ahead.
I found their Facebook, and their little bio about themselves is a tropical soul brother duo from Honolulu, Hawaii. Is what like the little tagline is.
So maybe they are. So soul, maybe soul is better than R&B.
Maybe, yes.
Maybe,
yes. Because soul is usually a little smoother. A little more chill, maybe. If you think R&B is more of a belting kind of singing,
right? I
think soul is not. No one really. Soul is a chiller vibe. Usually, I would say.
Oh, I would. But
agree. I like it. I like it a lot, and I like Tropical Soul Brothers. I guess a good way to explain it now that I hear it.
Yeah, I would say that's a great tagline for this song, Tropical Soul Brothers.
Yes.
And I think they only have, at least on Spotify, they only have 2 or 3 songs out right now.
Which
is interesting.
Starlight, Ocean, and Cherry Cola.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
first of all, Jared, let me tell you the little story about this song. So while I was in Mongolia, I met a really awesome girl, and we were showing each other music. And she showed me this song, and I had thought I'd heard it before. I'm not sure if I did. Maybe I did somewhere because it's very popular. But I just loved the feel and the vibe of the song. It was awesome. And I love the fact, like, we listened to it a couple times because I asked her if she understood the lyrics. And her English was really good, but I don't think she understood that this whole idea of cherry cola is like a metaphor for this girl that this guy likes, which I think is a really creative and interesting way to... I think nowadays, every love song out there has been written in one way or another, but this is kind of an interesting way to do it. Because there's lines like, now vanilla Coke, she's much too bland. So, if you have a girl that's like your vanilla Coke, she's just kind of boring. You got your lime Coke trying, and I'm reading the lyrics right now, and lime trying hard chasing all the other men. So your lime is a little too risky, right? But right here, reading the chorus, she's my cherry cola. She's going to keep me sober. Let me keep you closer. Bubbly like soda. Bubbly, I think, for some people is definitely a trait they look for in a partner.
Yeah,
Bubbly is like very...
I could do without that personally.
Right. I don't mind a girl who's a little bubbly. There's, sweeter than the champagne, smoother than this Coltrane, who's a U.S. jazz artist, who is fantastic. Keep me from the Chardonnay. I'm just sipping one thing, which is cherry cola, so I think that's really interesting, using this metaphor of cherry cola to describe the person you're interested in. And this whole metaphor of drinking stuff happens throughout the song. I think it's really creative and kind of interesting. And to me, it brings a lot of visuals to my mind, which I kind of like.
No, I liked it a lot. It was great.
So,
And I wish they had more. Are they like a new group? Is this just like the beginning, or what?
Buddy, I could not find anything on these guys. I couldn't find anything. But that's also why I was kind of intrigued by it, because I was like, there's only 3 songs out, but it's really catchy and it's really good.
Right.
And to me, it was also, I think it was produced and mixed really well. Sorry, yawning here. So yeah, but it's great. So check it out, Cherry Cola by John Kuwata. On our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast.
Yes.
We hope you enjoy it. We hope all of you can listen to it with your own cherry cola and enjoy it together.
Yes.
So yeah. Anyways, as we mentioned on this podcast, we are definitely advocates for talking about language learning, not only culture, but language. And language is very important to learn about culture. And I've slowly been trying to learn Chinese. It's been a very slow process, but baby steps,
Self-taught
people.
still.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, I need to find a tutor. At this point, Jared, I am to the point where I wouldn't mind asking a student of mine, but I think there's a slight conflict of interest there. So I'm at this point, just going to try to go meet people, and if their English is decent, be like, hey, do you want to be my Chinese tutor, and I'll tutor you in English? Because I tell you what, because to me, not that I'm not a motivated person, but when you have a tutor, I think there's more motivation, because if you have questions, you can answer them. The questions can be answered. You don't have to search for them. Anyways,
And
why am I talking about this?
accountability too.
Right. Why am I talking about this? I just need to share my Chinese word of the pod today, which is wenhua, which means culture. But interesting, though, about this word, Jared, is I looked it up, and the characters not only mean culture, but they also mean education. And I forget, civilization was another word. So I'm wondering if you pronounce it differently, if it means those different words, or depending on the context. I don't know enough yet about Chinese to tell you, but I just thought that was interesting to mention.
Yeah. Okay. Mine, Spanish word of the pod. My Spanish word of the pod is actually kind of not really. En su elemento. It's a phrase. It's not a word.
In your element.
Yes, but what's another word for in your element?
In your comfort zone.
Perfect.
You betcha.
Yes, it's a comfort zone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say right now in China, I am slowly getting into my element, but on a daily basis, I do have to get out of that comfort zone.
Oh, for
but
sure.
That's what makes it's so fascinating being in different cultures and learning about other cultures.
That's that's the fun part of experiencing any new culture too, is testing that comfort zone.
Absolutely. And in order for you to grow as a person, you need to get out of your comfort zone. There's just no way you can do that. Anyways, enough being philosophical. Now it's time for some jokes, Jared. So my first one comes from Kenya. And the joke is, your family is so stupid. This isn't like a question and answer, Jared. This is just a joke. This reminds me of like your mama jokes. But anyways, your family is so stupid, you give your chickens hot water so they can lay boiled eggs.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Right here. So
wait, what does that have to do with? Is this like a What does that have to do with? What country did you say again?
Kenya.
What does that have to do with Kenya?
So apparently in Kenya, a lot of the jokes they like are like disses, like your mom jokes.
Oh,
like
that's like a popular like insult over there. Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
So here's one for East Germany. Really, you could probably say this anywhere in Germany. How do you turn a Trabant or a Trabi, which are these small cars associated with East Germany, the communist era, into a sports car? How do you turn a Trabi into a sports car, Jared?
Push it off a cliff.
I like your punchline better, but they say put sneakers in the glove compartment. Basically, because there's like no way to make it a sports car.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Said.
The fastest. That's the only way you can get it to go fast is if you just push it off a cliff.
Right. So here we go. Here's a Chinese joke for you, Jared. A chess player who thought highly of his own skill once lost 3 games in a row. The next day, a friend asked him how the games had turned out. The Chinese man responded with, "I didn't win the first game." Then he said, "And my opponent didn't lose the second. And regarding the third game, I asked him to agree to a draw, but he wouldn't."
Okay. All right. I'll give it to you.
So the thing about this Chinese joke is, so although Chinese jokes, like this one I would say is fairly straightforward, Chinese jokes don't really do like, what's the term? Like self-deprecation, where you like don't really like make fun of yourself, because in China there's this big cultural thing about face. And so if you basically do anything that depreciates yourself, you're kind of losing face. You know, if you say, "Oh, I was just a bad chess player," I would say that myself as an American because I don't really care. But if you're a Chinese person, there's this idea of losing face. So that's kind of what makes this joke funny, is the fact that...
Also, I kind of like that in general that they have a mentality of not insulting yourself. It's not... That's such an easy way for people to go. I mean, I do it too, let's be clear, is to just like say, "Oh, I suck," or like, "Oh... I'm dumb," or whatever.
And I think a lot of humor in the States is related to that. Like you can watch a lot of stand-up, and they're making fun of themselves and stuff like that. But another key thing of Chinese culture too is not only do you not insult yourself, but you shouldn't insult others. Because not only does that cause others to lose face, but that can also cause you to lose face as well. So I kind of like that one. Okay, so this one, Jared, kind of has a sad backstory, but the joke is interesting. So here we go. This comes from Burma. A Burmese man visits a dentist in India. The dentist asks him, "Don't you have dentists in Burma?" The man replies, "Yes, we do, but we're not allowed to open our mouths." And so until its dissolution in 2011, the military junta that ruled Burma effectively outlawed free speech, and there was a Burmese comedian, Zarganar, spent 3 years in jail for telling jokes like this one. So he joked about the fact that they don't have free speech. So that dude had some serious cojones. That was a brave,
respect.
bad dude. And that sent him to jail. But now I guess that would be an homage to that comedian, which is pretty interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to bring that one up. My last one for you is for our friends down under, our Aussies. And this is, why do Australians pee in the bushes at parties?
Slipping on gator piss.
Why's that?
And here's a new Australian word for you, Jared. Because there's always someone chundering in the toilet. Chundering is an Australian slang word for vomiting. So because there's someone always vomiting in the toilet. So apparently there's a lot of Australia jokes about people drinking too heavily and ending up getting sick and throwing up.
And chundering.
Chundering. I love that word. I wish I could say it with a better Australian accent.
Yeah.
Chunda.
That sounds kind of British.
That yes, but the
Chanda.
weird thing is that's better.
I always
That's
get those
a lot
messed
better.
up.
Yeah, that's a lot better. So those are my cultural jokes for you. I think it's really interesting what
thank you.
different countries and cultures, their sense of humor, because it's a good insight into culture.
It is a very good insight into culture. I agree with that, and I think that it is a fun way to learn about culture. It's also a good way to learn about when you're crossing the line, though, or a bad way, depending on what happens.
And I think that's a really important thing. And we've done taboo episodes before. Maybe when I learn more about Chinese culture, we can do another taboo episode, China edition. Frankly, we could do a taboo episode for all sorts of different places and cultures.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it would
everyone
be a
has
lot of
their
fun.
own things.
Oh, absolutely. But I would agree with you that a big thing about culture and cultural awareness is being aware of what you should and should not do in different cultures. Now, granted, if it's obvious you're not from that culture, you might get some looks and some disapproval from people, but I think people tend, depending on where you are, people tend to be a bit forgiving. Like I learned the other day that when you say "shishia" in Mandarin, a friend of mine told me that Chinese people don't say this to friends of theirs because it's almost like you're saying you're in debt to them, which I did not know.
Oh, so
the concept
they take
of
it very
thanking is
seriously.
different. Right. So the concept of thanking, saying please and thank you is different. In Mongolia, like Mongolian people, to my understanding, don't really say please. I don't think it's that they're rude or impolite. I think it's just a different aspect of their culture. So yeah. So to recap though, what is culture? With a quick quote, I would say culture, as Jared mentioned, and I'm not going to say this as smoothly as you did to begin the main segment, buddy, so I apologize. But I would say culture, the key thing about culture is the ideas, the beliefs, or like we talked about, the practices, the products, practices, and perspectives of a region, a nation, or a collective group of people. You know, culture is very socially ingrained. Yeah, it's like a personality of a region or a nation, or even like a larger region, like Western culture and Eastern culture. So So we've begun to scratch the iceberg of this cultural thing, and we hope you've enjoyed this episode. And let us know what culture is to you at untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can check out our different photos on Instagram of all sorts of different places and what comprises culture. Untranslatable Podcast. Check out our YouTube channel, Untranslatable Podcast, for our beautiful faces. Jared just got a fresh new cut, so check that out. You can also see our Songs of the Pod on our YouTube playlist with that same title. And lastly, please, 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher, and let us know how we can make this podcast better for you. Although we do this for our own enjoyment, we also want to make this a better experience for you. So please let us know if there is anything we can do to make this podcast more fun, more entertaining, and better for you. So as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme, muchas gracias, and shusha.